Hello, welcome to Relational Lives. I'm Roz.
And I'm Ali.
And today we're going to talk about worry. And we're going to answer the question, what is worry? What makes someone a worrier? And what you can do about it.
Yeah, and please like and subscribe to our channel to make sure that you keep up to date with our content and let other people see it too.
And at the end of the podcast, you'll have 3 takeaway tips to help you.
You certainly will.
So what is worry?
Well, I think this is a really important topic for us to cover because how many times have someone said to you, stop worrying?
Yeah, loads.
Like, just stop worrying. Stop worrying about it.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's that often, I think, isn't it? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. Oh, for God's sake, stop worrying.
Yeah.
And what is that? What does that, I mean, how are you supposed to stop worrying? And this is something that people ask a lot. So I cover this quite a lot in the work I do with cognitive behavioural therapy. And this is the topic for today. So hopefully by the end of this, you'll have an understanding of what worry is and some strategies to help you reduce worrying.
Great. Absolutely. Go for it, Ali.
Well, I remember when I did this on the CBT training we did this whole module on this, and it was so helpful for me. And it has helped me to reduce my worrying.
So you walk the talk.
Yeah.
Great. So can you explain to us all what is worry?
Yes. If you haven't already listened to it, it might be worth going back to our previous episode on understanding anxiety.
Yeah, I think it was our first episode.
It was. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it will be helpful for you to watch that if you can, because it'll just give you a little bit of an understanding of how, some of the things we're going to mention here about anxiety and worry. But fundamentally, what worry is our thinking brain going into what if thinking. You know, future focused what if thinking, worrying about what could happen. Negative.
How is that different to overthinking?
Overthinking is more general. Overthinking might be overthinking anything, whereas worry is specifically future focused, thinking about the bad things that could happen.
Okay. So future focused.
Yeah.
As opposed to just general thinking.
As opposed to general thinking about anything
and everything.
Up. Yeah.
Okay.
So it might sound like, what if I fail my exams next year? Mm-hmm. What if I get made redundant? It's going to generally sound like a what if.
Okay. So that's really helpful because that's a good identifier, isn't it? If it starts with a what if. Mm-hmm. And why do we do it?
Well, I think in some ways it's helpful, isn't it, for us to think about what could happen because it's a safety mechanism.
So is there something helpful in it?
Well, this is what we'll talk about. There are some... we'll talk about that more as we go on.
Okay. So it's future focused. It starts often with a sort of what if something happens in the future.
Yeah. And negative, right? It's not usually a what if I win £1 million next year? Or what if I have an amazing holiday?
I don't think that would be about worrying, would it necessarily? No. I think that would be like celebrating. So what makes someone more of a worrier than someone else?
Well, it could be that someone grows up in a family of worriers.
Okay, so that would make sense.
And it could be a learned thing. Like if you've grown up with people around you that are constantly worrying and on edge and like, oh God, what if this, what if that? That's going to be something you naturally pick up, isn't it?
So kind of modelled to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, learned. Yeah, that makes sense.
It could be learned. It could be that something you've experienced something growing up or in your history that has led you to worry specifically about something. So if we think about social anxiety often comes from experience of being humiliated at some point or embarrassed at some point, and often in school, unfortunately.
Yes, which we've referred to a number of times, haven't we, in podcasts?
Yeah.
How school can have such an impact. Yeah.
So the worry is going to be more specific about what if I look like an idiot? What if I embarrass myself? How are they going to see me? Mm-hmm. So different experiences can lead to specific types of worry.
Okay.
And they might show up as different anxiety disorders.
So it sort of develops on in a way to something else specific.
Mm-hmm.
So
So it could be, for example, it could be social anxiety. It could be health anxiety, worrying, oh gosh, I've got a mole, what if it's cancer? But not being able to let go of the what ifing.
So are you saying that if something has maybe contributed to that, like you say, whether there's humiliation or whatever leading to the social anxiety, and I guess with health anxiety, I imagine that if there has been an experience of something where there has been something worrying around health in a family or with yourself, that's going to then lead you to think about future possible events. Yeah, which makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you, in a way, if you've had an experience of something that's difficult and worrying, that you would then fear and worry about it potentially happening again?
Yeah. Or generalized anxiety disorder is worrying about pretty much everything and anything. So lots of different topics of what ifs.
So less specific.
Yeah. More general,
So what's happening in our brains with this worrying? What's going on with our brains?
What do you mean?
Well, in terms of, I imagine that with what you've talked about and what we've talked about in our anxiety episode, that there's something that's going on as a threat response in our brain. Is that right with worry?
Well, I think we mentioned this in that episode as well, but if you're in your brain, if you're thinking about all these things that could go wrong, the brain can't tell the difference between an actual threat in your environment or a vividly thought about and imagined threat. Mm-hmm. So if you're in your thinking brain and you're thinking all these terrible things that might happen, it's going to cause anxiety.
Yeah. And that leads to all those other elements of specific anxiety that you talk about.
And when I say it's going to cause anxiety, it's going to set off your fight or flight response, isn't it? It's going to set off that what's happening.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once that's set off, once your alarm is set off, you're going to worry more.
Yes.
Because your body's going, there is a threat, we need to look out for it. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle, really. Yeah.
So it's there almost as if it's trying to protect you, but in fact is a really difficult thing to be in all the time, that loop of worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were talking about why someone might be more of a worrier than others, and you were saying that it might be a learned thing, it might be something that somebody's experienced. What other reasons might there be that somebody's more of a worrier than another?
There's something called, in CBT terms, you might say intolerance of uncertainty, which is basically meaning that you're someone who finds uncertainty more difficult. Not knowing is more difficult for you to tolerate.
So will that be just somebody who is more sensitive to that, or will it have been somebody who has perhaps experienced it and therefore become more sensitive to it in their pasts? That's
often
uncertainty.
It can vary. So it might be that you have grown up in a family where everything was certain, everything was sorted. Your parents protected you from uncertainty. So
you therefore might not have had an experience of it. Therefore, it would be a frightening, potentially worrying thing when you do. Is that right? So you're then finding it much harder to cope with uncertainty when it shows up, which it will, because life is uncertain. Mm-hmm. Life is not predictable. So that intolerance of uncertainty means that when uncertainty shows up, you feel anxious. There's a threat going off. And then that's where the worry comes in. It's like, okay, I need to get certainty. If I worry enough, if I think about this enough, I can predict what's going to happen. Okay. And so that's when your what ifs come in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if something is uncertain, there's space for the what ifs, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah. It immediately will come in, won't it?
There's space for those stories to come up about the terrible things.
What would you say are the pros and cons of worrying?
It's individual to everybody. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I would go through when I'm working with somebody around worry is looking at what it is that they think it gives them. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, this is me, I'm a worrier for sure, I don't want to do this so much, I would say, okay, look at what this is giving you. Sit down with a sheet of paper, look at your pros and cons. What is this? What are the pros of worrying?
And what might those be? What are examples? I mean, it's obviously very individual, but what sort of things might be on that list?
Usually it would be, I can think about all the things and then I can prepare. I can think about all the things that might go wrong and I can prepare for what I would do if it happened. Mm-hmm. So I'm keeping myself safe. Mm-hmm. People might say it means I care. Mm-hmm. It might be a sense of being in control. Mm-hmm. So there are usually something around those three areas that people would
put down. And in terms of cons?
Well, it's tiring. Mm-hmm. Often it takes up a lot of someone's headspace and time. So it's, if you're a worrier, it happens sometimes out of your awareness even, but it's happening. It's happening in your head.
In terms of that exhaustion that you talk about, I guess there's also, there's a lot of experience inside the body, isn't there, in terms of that alarm system going off, that what if, the worrying that's going on, the tensions that come with that physically, I imagine as well, not just about it being tiring, but the feeling sort of stress in your body. Yeah.
So that worry sets off the brain's alarm. The brain's alarm sends adrenaline, cortisol into the body. It doesn't feel good.
No.
It can prevent people from sleeping. Mm-hmm. So that's a big downside.
Preoccupation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can stop people from doing things. That's a big one. Like if you're worrying about all the things that can go wrong, more likely you're going to avoid it.
Yes.
So that's a big con. It can mean that you're not present with people. So, it might be with them, but you might be in your head worrying.
Yes. Really difficult. Yeah, to kind of get that separation from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got your pros and cons list. Mm-hmm. People usually find there are a lot more cons, but what I say to them is, well, there might be more, but what feels more important to you? And then we might look at, well, those pros, are they really happening? So is it really keeping you safe? Is this amount of time that you spend worrying really keeping you safe? And out of the amount of time worrying, what percentage of that time is actually helpful?
So when it's pared down even more, actually those pros that were there don't necessarily appear as helpful or important.
Yeah.
So that the balance, therefore, I guess, is that, look, actually, there are more cons. It's not something that's serving you very well.
Mm-hmm. And some people actually, that I work with will say, absolutely not, I'm not dropping this. It's important to me. And we have to honour that. Mm-hmm. Right? That at the moment you're not ready, mm-hmm. but maybe have a think about it as you go through. Just check in, is this really helpful for me?
So is that when people are perhaps holding on to the security in the way of the familiarity of what they know, that they're used to worrying, that's something that they're thinking keeps them safe, it's helping them think that they're preparing for things, keeping them kind of in control in some way. Does it mean that they're sort of attached more to that familiarity of that, or that, so therefore they're not, like you say, ready necessarily to let it go?
I think
or to do something differently.
Yeah, I think that, and also the strong, I'm just thinking of a particular client I was working with recently. She just had this really strong belief that if she didn't worry, that she wouldn't be safe. But over time, we did some experiments that she started to realise, well, it's not really working and it's making me feel rubbish. So
the con in a way outweighed the pro.
Yeah. And actually, sometimes it's not until it's in your awareness that you can think about that.
And I imagine that experience of going through it and thinking about it in this way and looking at how it serves you or doesn't serve you can then help you get a different perspective on it. That you can see it differently.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's not, it's not an easy thing to do.
Well, like you say, we all do it.
And it's habit. Yeah, it's habit.
Yeah.
So it's a practice. It's a practice that, I think if you're a worrier, you can start to change this, and it takes time to unlearn that.
Yeah. Which is everything, isn't it? That, that sort of practice, whether it makes perfect or not, isn't necessarily the case, but that practicing so that we get that sort of new neural pathway going, where we've got it very developed, I guess, to be, if we're worrying a lot, it's very developed in that way, I guess, isn't it? We're wanting to try and get a new channel sort of laid out that we can start. So practice is the way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how do people stop worrying? So you're sort of indicating elements there that the pros and cons list can be helpful. That that there's an awareness that comes with that, I guess. But how do people stop worrying?
Well, there's a few steps to this. First one is recognizing that you're doing it. It's that kind of, I think we talked about it in the anxiety one, about like the worry gremlin, or the worry, that part of your mind that's coming in with the what ifs.
So is that noticing then when you're saying it to yourself? Is that noticing or is it noticing how you're feeling? How will people even be able to be aware that they're going to that worry? Because it could be such a normal thing and such a familiar way of functioning. Mm-hmm. How do you even start to notice it?
Well, how I would suggest someone starts is by maybe even for today, the rest of today or tomorrow, just be noticing when your mind is going to the what ifs and where it goes with that. What are the what ifs it's coming up with? Just keeping a note even on your phone. Like, I was worrying. I used to give people one of those clicker counters.
Oh, yes.
And I'd say, right, I just want you to click it every time you notice you're worrying.
I imagine that's a really good way of doing it, because in some ways you're bringing it into an external thing, aren't you? That clicker is making it almost external.
Yeah.
What a good idea.
Yeah, they were quite good.
Yeah.
Because it's easy then, isn't it? You haven't got to write anything down, but you can count how many times you're worrying. So it's that bringing that first part is that awareness of when is my mind going to those what ifs? When is the worry gremlin coming in and saying, oh, what if this, what if that? I think you were going to give an example.
Yes. I mean, I can go to what ifs, but I think with the podcast, it's like, I've had experiences regularly where I think, well, what if I stumble over my words? What if I don't get something, right? Or if I say something that's really, silly, or I'm seen, what if I'm seen as somebody who's doesn't know what they're talking about, and yet I'm doing a podcast? How dare I do a podcast when I'm, so the what ifs would definitely come in and feel horrible, because then that, what if I don't prepare enough? Yeah. Which is something that I think I'm trying to do less of now, which probably is evident, maybe. Maybe my what if is coming into reality. But yes, that what if around podcasting has been a big thing, because this is new to us.
And it can go to the extreme, right? Because mine certainly did. Mine went, so it can start with what if I mess up my words. It can start with something simple like that and lead to what if I'm fully embarrassed and I get horrible comments, and then I lose my job, and then I can't pay my mortgage, and then I lose my house, and then it goes on really and on and wild.
On. Yes, to catastrophic.
Yeah.
Is that something different or within it, catastrophic thinking?
Well, I think it's a part of it.
A part of it.
It's just how far the story goes, isn't it? And if you can catch it quickly, it doesn't get that extreme.
Yeah.
This is the thing. If you can start to notice, there's the what if.
You're not then running away with it.
Yeah.
So again, that clicker, that's sort of, even if it's an imaginary clicker, it's almost like, right, I'm imagining clicking, stopping this. I'm noticing I'm saying that what if.
Yeah.
Yeah. You spoke about different worry types.
Yes. This really helps people, I think. So we talk about 3 different worry types. One is hypothetical worry. So they're the what ifs. Basically, no amount of thinking about it is going to change the outcome. Mm-hmm. Right. So no amount of you saying, what if I stumble on my words, or what if this is going to stop you stumbling on your words. In fact, it might even make it worse.
Indeed, because you're going to be more worried and therefore you're not going to be able to think straight.
Yeah. So there's the what ifs, hypotheticals. Then you've got solvable worries. So solvable worries are when it could be, for example, I wake up in the middle of the night. I forgot to send that email. what if I forget to send that email? They're quite easy to deal with, and you can just schedule it. So if you're waking up in the middle of the night with one of those, get your phone out, schedule it for the next day, done. Worry finished, hopefully.
So there's a solution, an easy solution,
Yeah.
and it's possible.
And that's finished.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a worrier, it might not be. And then worry about worry. People might, oh my God, I'm worrying so much. Why am I worrying so much? I'm going to make myself ill. Again, it's a kind of hypothetical one, but it's one to just keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
If you can notice those types of worry and catch them, it's going to help, because if it's solvable,
You can do
what are you
something
going to do?
about it.
Schedule it,
Yeah,
do it, done.
that makes sense.
Let go of the worry, focus on something else. Or if it's a what if or a worry about worry, then this is where I'm going to help you do it differently. And Roz has agreed to do a little role play with me.
Agreed say,
She loves
role
roleplay.
play is one of those things that sets off worry in me.
What's the worry?
What if I mess up?
What's
What if
the
I
worry?
don't get?
Okay.
What if I don't get it right? What if? I mean, the what ifs come in. Yeah.
So the worry gremlin is active already.
Yeah. Just with the words role play, which is probably coming from previous experiences where I haven't enjoyed doing them.
So this role play is going to be showing you how you can relate differently to the worry gremlin, so that you are not engaging in it so much.
Okay.
I'm going to show 3 different ways of engaging with the worry gremlin. Roz has kindly agreed to be the worry gremlin.
Okay. So you're then going to engage as if it's. Do you want to sort of make
so
it make sense of that a little bit more?
I'm going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be my worry gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to respond to you in 3 different ways. The first 2 are going to be ways that people commonly respond to worry thoughts.
Okay. So I'm the what if. So what if I stumble on my words?
Oh God, yeah. What if you do? That's going to look really stupid, isn't it?
What if I stumble on my words and I look really stupid? It's going to be awful.
Everyone is going to notice, aren't they?
Everyone is going to notice.
And yeah.
What if everybody notices that I stumble on my words?
Oh my God, that's going to be horrendous.
It's going to be really horrendous. And what if then I stumble on my words, people think it's really awful, and they stop listening to us and they stop watching us.
Yeah, that's bad. And they're going to make comments.
Yeah, and then what if people then say, how's your podcast going? And then I'll say, we've had no views, we've had no...
So the point of this is, we could go on forever,
Mm-hmm.
engaging in the worry. It doesn't help.
No.
And it gets worse, and it gets more catastrophic.
And I can feel that inside me. It's like, I can feel like I could go on and on and on and on and on.
So the worry gremlin is being fed.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the next one we're going to do is where I'm trying to ignore you or push you away.
Okay. So, oh gosh, with this podcast, what if I stumble on my words?
Can you stop, please? Stop.
No,
I don't want to think about it.
Don't
La,
want
la,
to
la,
stop.
la,
No,
la.
don't. No, because what if I stumble on my words and then people think
Stop.
I'm ridiculous? What if then
Stop.
You're not listening to me? You're
Okay.
not listening to me.
So that one, how did you feel there with me trying to stop
That
you?
was really frustrating. I felt really frustrated.
You wanted to
because
fight back.
I wanted to fight back. Yeah, absolutely.
Again, feeding the worry gets stronger.
Yeah.
Final one, I am not going to engage. I'm just going to acknowledge you, but not engage.
I've got this podcast. What if I stumble on my words?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for the comment.
Yeah, but what if I stumble on my words?
Appreciate that.
But I might stumble on my words.
Mm-hmm.
And if I stumble on my words, well, what if then it goes all wrong and everybody thinks that I'm ridiculous?
Okay. So what are you noticing is happening to the energy?
I have nowhere to go.
You've got nowhere to go with it.
I've got nowhere to go. I feel calmer inside, a little bit confused.
Right.
It's almost like, hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. I should be worrying about this thing. And I'm not as much because I'm not able to go anywhere with
Nowhere.
it.
Yeah. So it's taking the power out.
Takes the power out. Yeah. So inside, again, from each one, it feels very, very different.
Yeah.
I would also say that inside with the last one, I felt more, I don't know, kind of a bit confused, but also maybe a little relief.
All right.
not fighting with it, not being fought with.
Mm-hmm. So it's not about pushing it away, because people often think, I've got to fight, block it, stop it. It's about acknowledging that worry gremlin is there. It's saying something, but I'm just not engaging with it. And then focus your attention on something else. That doesn't mean think about something else. It means put your attention somewhere else. So whether that be what you're working on at the time, the people you're with, the things around you, the sights and sounds.
Mm-hmm. So keeping you more present in a way rather than in the future.
Yeah.
That all makes so much sense.
And this is a practice, so it's not easy, but it's something to just try. That's
also so helpful. I'm sure that will help loads of people. And like you say, you come across it a lot in your work, specifically with CBT, and it being a significant part of anxiety.
Yeah. A big feeder of anxiety.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you think would be helpful for people to know before we go to our takeaway tips?
I don't think so, but I think what you said there is important. It's a part of anxiety. Mm-hmm. It's a strand of it that's worth addressing. Mm-hmm. And it's not all of it.
Yeah, and I think you've given us a really good example of that today, and lots of really useful things to think about. I'm sure we'll all go away and think about how that what if comes into our lives, and hopefully find ways of catching that and doing something different. Yeah. So thank you, Ali.
You're welcome.
So should we go to our 3 takeaway tips?
We will. Okay, so takeaway tip number 1. I would like you to sit down with a pen and paper. And that piece is important, because otherwise you'll get into your head and you might even start worrying about it. Pen and paper, pros and cons of worry for you. What does it give you and what is it taking from you? And when you look at the pros, notice, are they really pros?
Tip number 2, if you decide you'd like to stop your worrying, spend the next 2 days just noticing when you were worrying and what you're worrying about. Keep a note on your phone. For instance, it might be worrying about, what if I lose my job? When the what if comes in, and a bit like that clicker, make a note on your phone.
And finally, the big one, practice not engaging with your worry gremlin. So acknowledging it, saying thank you, but then focusing on something else. If you really struggle with this and you cannot at the moment do without worrying, schedule some worry time. So set aside 30 minutes in your day, pen and paper, and sit down and write down all your worries and finish at the end of the timer. So set a half-hour timer.
Great, really useful tips, and thank you so much, Ali. That's been a really helpful
episode.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. It's helpful to me. I'm going to practice this. Yeah, certainly. I'll be able to do this every time we do podcast recording. Yeah. So thank you. So remember, everybody, subscribe, 5-star reviews, follow us.
Yeah. Comments. Any comments?
Yeah, any comments would be great. And also, again, if there's any topics that you would like to be discussed on our podcast, let us know. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ali.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon.